welcome to the deep dive. We're getting into some really fascinating source material today. It looks at reality, well, a bit differently than you might be used to.
Yeah, forget pure force for a second. We're exploring a perspective that's all about subtle, energetic dynamics.
Right. We're going to unpack this thing called psychic Aikido and these figures known as master navigational attuners. It's pretty out there, but interesting.
Absolutely. The core idea in these sources is that reality isn't fixed. It can actually be, like, repatterned.
But not by fighting it.
No, not through force. It's
Yeah.
about resonant coherence. It leans heavily on Eastern energetic ideas, where energy isn't just physics. It's this subtle, maybe even intelligent field you can interact with.
Okay, so our goal today, our deep dive mission, is to take these fairly complex ideas, Ethric fire, geomancy, magnetic alchemy, resonant seeding, all these terms,
And try to make them, understandable. Break them down.
yeah, figure out what's really important here. What's the core message about this subtle revolution they talk about?
So, get comfortable. We're diving into a worldview where subtle energy is, fundamental. And maybe something you can actually learn to navigate.
Okay, let's get into the foundation then. This idea of a universal energetic fabric. It's everywhere, underneath everything.
Right. The sources use terms from Eastern traditions, Akasha, Tao, Dharmakaya, different names, but pointing to this pervasive, intelligent background. It's not separate from us. It is us, in a way. The ground of being.
And that's a pretty big contrast to the usual Western materialist view, isn't it?
Mhm.
Where consciousness is maybe just a result of brain chemistry.
Exactly. In the materialist view, consciousness is kind of an output, emerges from matter. But in these Eastern influence sources, consciousness is primary. It's fundamental.
And energy is the stuff it works with.
Yeah, energy is the responsive medium. It's manipulable by consciousness. That's the key difference.
So if that's the setup consciousness first, energy is the medium, how do you actually, do anything with that?
That's where psychic Aikido comes in. The sources describe it as this really sophisticated method. Like a martial art, but
Not fighting.
not fighting, no. It's about harmonizing with psychoenergetic forces, redirecting them artfully.
Okay, so like real Aikido or Tai Chi, where you yield, blend with the energy.
Precisely. You join the flow instead of resisting. Principles like Wu Wei, effortless action, or ahimsa, non-harming, those are central. You're not battling the energy. You're kind of dancing with it, guiding it.
And the person who supposedly masters this, who embodies this, that's the master navigational attuner.
That's the key figure, yeah. And understanding who this attuner is. Well, the source is connected to this concept of the psychic web.
The psychic web, rooted in Eastern thought, they say.
Yeah, they link it to ideas like samskaras, the shared karmic patterns, the grooves worn by thought and action over time.
Or Maya, the collective illusion, the idea that we're all interconnected energetically, caught in shared patterns.
Exactly that. Our conditioning, our family history, our culture, it's not just abstract stuff. It creates actual energetic knots, knotted nodes they call them, in this shared web.
Forming trails of entanglement. Wow, so we're tied to collective stories, traumas, limitations.
That's the picture they paint. And these entanglements, all these knots and unresolved energies, they generate psychic noise.
Psychic noise, like mental clutter, emotional static.
Yeah, but on a collective level, too. It's the dissonance from unresolved stuff, clashes, like ignorance, ego, attachment, aversion, or unfulfilled desires, tanha. All that creates this background spiritual noise. It clouds clarity, keeps people stuck.
So how did the attuner deal with that? What's the antidote?
The antidote, the state they cultivate, is called the unentangled frequency.
The unentangled frequency. Okay, how do you even get there? That sounds hard.
It's described as a really rigorous path, focusing on non-ego, anatta, detachment, viraja, and deep inner quiet, shamatha.
So it's not about just pushing feelings down.
No, definitely not suppression. It's about mindfully processing the energy of emotions. Letting it resolve without creating new knots or getting tangled up in it again. This practice is what purifies their energy field, leading to this really stable inner calm, a quiet core.
Okay, so their energy isn't constantly seeking validation or reacting to everything outside. It's sort of self-sufficient.
That's it exactly, energetic autonomy.
Yeah.
Their inner state doesn't need external agreement, which makes them like an anchor point in the middle of all that collective noise and chaos.
Right, which leads to this physics of resonant structure idea. It sounds like their inner state actually affects the outside world.
Yes, that's a key part. Their coherent presence isn't just internal. It actively influences the environment through vibrational harmony.
Oh.
Think of a perfectly tuned tuning fork. If you bring it near other instruments that are slightly off, it's pure tone, kind of. Invites them to resonate correctly. It doesn't force them. It just provides a clear reference.
So the attuner is like a human tuning fork.
A tuning presence, yeah. They influence chaotic fields by being that clear point of order. It's influenced through resonance, through vibrational truth, not by pushing.
And this shapes who they are. They have this rare emotional neutrality, this stillness from practice.
Right. And they seem to operate outside the usual collective loops, the common patterns. The sources call them outsiders in that sense. Not bound by the same entanglements.
They use that metaphor, the O-negative bloodline. What's that about?
A powerful metaphor. O-negative blood is the universal donor, right? You can be given to anyone. So, metaphorically, the attuner's energy is like a neutral transmission vector. It can influence different systems without being rejected by their existing energetic biases or antibodies.
So they're sensitive to subtle energy, Sukrima.
Extremely sensitive, yes. But crucially, it's balanced with immense internal stability, Sirata. So they perceive the subtle stuff without getting thrown off balance by it.
So the real power isn't in something they do visibly.
No, it's in who they are. Their state of being. Their presence is the influence. They're the reference point, the tuned frequency.
Okay, let's shift to the energy source they work with, Ethric fire. Or the sacred breath.
Right. This is described as, like, primordial energy. Universal. It's latent, meaning it's always there, but needs conscious activation.
And it's catalytic.
Yeah, meaning it kicks off transformation but doesn't get used up in the process.
Yeah.
You can think of it like the cosmic breath or the great void, the source potential.
And it has monoatomic purity. What does that imply, practically speaking?
Well, think of most energy we encounter as being kind of mixed, compounded with intentions, emotions, history. Monoatomic purity suggests it's uncompounded, fundamental, like pure potential.
Okay.
And because it's so pure, it can set foundational templates.
Yeah.
Like it carries the original blueprint, bypassing the distortions and noise that have accumulated.
The clean signal. That sounds a lot like concepts from the East, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Prana in yoga, universal life force. Ki in Taoism, vital transformative energy. Kundalini in Tantra, that dormant coiled power. They all share this idea of a fundamental catalytic life-giving energy you can work with.
So how do they work with it? How is etheric fire used, according to these sources?
Several ways. The breath itself, the sacred breath, is primary, like pranayama or qigong. Conscious breathing accumulates and directs this energy.
But it's not just mechanical breathing, right? Intention matters.
Critically.
Yeah.
Focused intent, unwavering awareness, sankalpa, yi. You need a clear, pure purpose to guide the energy precisely.
And that allows them to insert new templates.
Yes. By focusing etheric fire with that pure intent, they can project energetic blueprints, patterns of harmony, clarity, balance onto the subtle fabric of a situation or place, like energetically suggesting a better pattern.
And because it's primordial, it can actually overwrite the messy existing patterns.
That's the claim. Like a powerful, clean radio signal cutting through static. Its fundamental order can dissolve or repattern chaotic fields.
So the attuner's internal practices, breath work, meditation, maybe using crystals or chants, that's all about refining their own connection to this etheric fire.
Exactly. It's an internal alchemy.
Yeah.
Concentrating and purifying their own field so they can wield this energy effectively.
And this refined state doesn't just stay inside them, it radiates out.
Yes, this is crucial. The sources say this refined state alters entire environments. Not by force, but by creating these subtle micro-instabilities in dissonant systems.
Micro-instabilities?
Well,
what does that feel like, or mean?
It means the sheer clarity and order of the attuner's field creates a subtle contrast, a sort of vibrational rub, when it meets chaos or distortion. This contrast gently prompts the dissonant system towards harmony, just because a higher possibility is now present.
The living tuning fork again.
Exactly. Influencing the environment just by being resonant.
Okay, so they cultivate this internal state, work with etheric fire, then they seem to take it outside strategically, through geomancy and magnetic alchemy.
Right. Geomancy here means strategically engaging with specific energy spots in the environment.
But not necessarily the obvious power spots.
Not always. They look for weak zones or liminal occlusion points, places of flux, permeable spots often overlooked, places resistant to conventional tracking.
The sources list some surprising examples: laundromats, stairwells, gas stations, transit voids.
Yeah, places where energy is constantly turning over, never really settling, makes them energetically pliable, like a blank canvas. Hard for one pattern to stick.
And specific times, too, like 3.3 to 4.45 a.m., the dreamscape intervals.
A proposed window where subtle energy flows might be stronger, or maybe mental interference is lower, making the collective field more receptive.
And even places like farmers markets, wilderness edges, organic disruptions.
Yeah, places where rigid human-made grids meet natural harmony, or just areas that lack that structured control. They inherently resist what the sources call surveillance indexing. They don't fit neatly into artificial metrics.
So the point of using these zones is they're off the radar.
Basically, yeah. Energetic bleed, subtle influence, cannot be effectively tracked or manipulated by conventional technology in these places. So they're ideal for implanting new energetic patterns discreetly.
They're energetically porous and observation resistant. Makes sense. Then there's magnetic alchemy, transmuting chaos.
Yes. It starts with acknowledging the anthropogenic key, the energetic smog of modern life. Information overload, emotional static, EMFs, rigid structures blocking natural flows.
And natural materials can help with that, like black tourmaline, shunite.
According to the sources, yes. These natural magnetic materials are seen as transmuters. They absorb the chaotic, dissonant energy, process it somehow, and re-radiate it in a more coherent form, like little energetic filters or processors.
And they place these strategically.
Right. Planting them as nodes within those geomantic zones creates what they call spiritual actuation zones.
And these zones do more than just clean up the energy.
They claim these zones can actually distort attempts at analysis, invert incoming dissonant information, and resist that surveillance indexing because they embody a natural complexity that artificial systems can't easily measure or control.
So you end up with pockets of clarity that protect and amplify the attuner's subtle work.
That's the idea. Localized fields of coherence within the general noise.
Now, this Isle of Saturn concept, it sounds different, more internal.
Metaphorical.
Yeah, less a physical place, more like an internalized metaphysical framework. A personal energetic infrastructure the attuner builds within themselves.
For what purpose?
For precise calibration and projection of their influence, potentially on a larger scale.
And this involves aura code injection and seed codes. That sounds very sci-fi.
It does, but think of it energetically. The idea is the attuner's unique biosignature, maybe their blood type resonance, brain waves, even their voice pattern can be distilled into subtle, energetic seed codes.
Not digital code, but energetic patterns.
Exactly. Subtle information packets. And these get embedded into the collective information field, which is like the shared mental atmosphere. The collective unconscious national metadata, they call it.
Something like that. The subtle, energetic, and informational environment we all share.
And these codes spread. How? Through people.
That's the really wild claim. Using those liminal points, the codes transmit, maybe through brief interactions, via unwitting civilians, spreading through the human network, like 6 degrees of separation, but on an energetic level.
Affecting social algorithms and public microbehaviors, subtly nudging the collective.
Unconsciously, yes. Repatterning the collective grid from within, like a beneficial energetic contagion. That's the concept presented.
Okay, that leads us to the core method underlying a lot of this, resonant seeding, described as a martial art of presence.
Yes, this is really central. It's about the subtle insertion of harmonic potential. It's not forceful. It's not like pushing energy onto someone.
So what is it?
It's providing a coherent frequency, making it available to the field without demanding acceptance, just offering a higher possibility.
The sources give some practical examples, which helps ground it, like going into busy, maybe low-vibe places.
And just silently being there, anchoring stillness, not trying to fix anything, just holding that peaceful frequency, planting it as an available option in the environment.
Or visiting places heavy with memory, like battlefields or old hospitals.
And offering a psychic whisper of integration. A subtle, energetic suggestion towards harmony for those lingering, maybe discordant energies.
Or even just spending time in neglected areas, forgotten zones.
Yeah, leaving behind energetic architecture or packets of possibility. Basically, embedding beneficial frequencies as dormant potentials, just waiting for the right conditions or readiness to activate.
So it's like energetic cleanup and repatterning, finding disharmony and offering a better template.
Exactly. But the discipline is key. No visual theatrics, no light shows, the sources emphasize. The power is internal, the effect subtle.
And the tools are internal disciplines too.
Absolutely. Breath carrying the Ethric fire, posture creating alignment, stability, non-reactivity, keeping their own signal pure, not getting snagged by the chaos, archetypal clarity aligning with universal truths like peace or compassion, amplifies the signal. and just the constant subtle broadcast of their unentangled frequency.
But does everyone just automatically pick up on this? There's this paradox of reception.
Crucial point. The energetic environment, the field, only accepts what it can metabolize, what it's ready for, so receptivity varies massively.
Meaning people react differently.
Yes, some might subtly mirror the coherence if they're close to ready brief mirroring. Others might react defensively, their ingrained chaotic patterns feel challenged.
Okay.
And for many, perhaps most, it's just subconscious registration. The field notes the potential, registers the packet, but it stays dormant until there's readiness.
So it really is about availability, not control, making the potential present.
Exactly. Which links to another idea. Light without structure is chaos. Just blasting high-frequency energy isn't helpful if there's no stable container.
The attuner provides the structure, then.
Yes, they offer form essence aligned with structure. They embody a stable, coherent template themselves. It's like offering scaffolding, so others can undertake their own internal rebuilding safely, rather than having it forced on them.
And what about speech? They emphasize silence, but also strategic speech.
Right, silence is often strategic because words can carry hooks, biases, attachments. In fields full of noise, words can dilute the signal. They aren't trying to persuade with arguments because the influence is resonant, bypassing the analytical mind.
Oh, and they do talk.
It's precise, sparse, catalytic, designed not to impress you, but to spark something within you, to activate a dormant memory. The sources say to hear them is not to be impressed, it is to remember something you had forgotten you knew.
Wow. Okay, so the end result of all this, the subtle work, is energetic dominance through translation. What does that mean? It sounds contradictory.
It does, but think psychic Aikido again. It's not dominance through force, but through subtly repatterning the system without fighting it. Redirecting feedback loops, repurposing existing energy flows.
And the system itself becomes the medium, like attempts to watch them actually spread their influence.
That's the claim. The attuner becomes conducting. The surveillance system, designed to monitor, inadvertently becomes their own medium of ritual, amplifying and propagating the coherent signal just by observing it.
Which messes with predictive models based on chaos.
Exactly. It repatterns the psychic grid in ways that defy prediction based on old chaotic patterns. It introduces a new coherent logic.
A kind of covert national programming, but unconscious, emergent.
Yeah, a widespread subtle entrainment to the attuner's coherent frequency, their encoded movement, their aura. The collected grid slowly recalibrates to this purer signal, without conscious awareness for the most part.
Spread through those unwitting channels, the human network.
Via the aura imprint, the seed codes, influencing social algorithms and public microbehaviors, subtly through connection.
And there's this final, really crucial point. Karmic ingestion and embodied spiritual code. What happens when someone encounters this coherence directly?
The sources claim you can't remain neutral. Your energy field interacts with it.
Karmic ingestion. Does that mean it brings your stuff up?
It suggests the attuner's presence can catalyze your own karmic patterns, bringing them to the surface to be dealt with. And at the same time, you might experience unintentional embodiment of spiritual code.
Meaning you spontaneously start resonating with their pattern.
Your field starts to repattern itself, aligning with the coherent template being offered. It could trigger rapid personal growth, karmic acceleration, or activate potentials you didn't know you had.
And the paradox is, even fighting it doesn't stop it.
According to this perspective, no. Any engagement, even resistance, tends to propagate, not neutralize its influence. Interacting with it just reinforces its presence in the field.
So wrapping this all up, it's presented as a quiet revolution of presence.
Exactly. Dominance, but redefined. Achieved through embodied coherence. It's not about external control, but self-governed influence that shapes reality through resonance. The power lies in being the truth, being the coherence, which compels realignment around it.
It's a whole different model of influence. Leadership through resonant presence, not command.
As the essence of it.
Wow. Okay, that was definitely a deep dive. A lot to take in.
It really is. We went from the basic idea of an energetic fabric through psychic Aikido, the attuner's state, etheric fire, geomancy, magnetic alchemy,
resonant seeding, and landed on this idea of energetic dominance through translation. It's quite a journey.
And the thread running through it all from these sources is that real influence comes from internal coherence, from vibrational truth. It's rooted in that Eastern wisdom, working beneath the surface of things.
The implications feel pretty big. A path to navigating chaos by cultivating inner order. Energetic sovereignty.
Yeah, potentially for individuals, and maybe even the collective.
Hmm.
A quiet way of guiding things towards harmony.
So, thinking about all this, these subtle energies, resonant presence, it makes you wonder, where might you notice subtle influences playing out in your own environment now?
Or perhaps, what would it mean for you personally to focus on cultivating your own internal coherence, that unentangled frequency, especially with all the noise and chaos out there?
Definitely something to ponder as you go about your day. We hope this exploration is maybe giving you a new lens, a different way to perceive the subtle world around and within you.